When it comes to Netflix's The Witcher series, the titular Witcher, Geralt of Rivia, proves himself to be, in my opinion, the best character on the show, avoiding the writing missteps that besiege many of the other characters. With Season 3 being Henry Cavill's final time playing the role, I feel like this is the perfect time to do a character analysis video on Geralt. For the purposes of this analysis, I will only be looking into Geralt's portrayal on the Netflix series, highlighting the character that carried the show in the eyes of many. With that said, in this video I will be looking at what makes Geralt such a compelling character and how he has evolved over the course of the show.
No matter what you choose, you'll come out bloody and hating yourself. Trust me.
By the time we meet Geralt at the start of the series, he has already lived a long and hard life, which has shaped him to be who he is. He appears to be a cold, grumbly monster hunter that would scare most people just by looking at him. His first scene sees him skewering a beast, showing that he is capable of extreme violence. However, far more interesting than his fight with the beast is a quiet moment after his victory, where he comes across an unfortunate deer that ended up as collateral damage from the encounter. Geralt takes a moment to take pity on the creature before he puts it out of its misery. This immediately shows us that there is more to Geralt than being a brute capable of extreme violence. It shows that he has compassion for even the smallest of creatures. It also serves to show us that he is a realist and has adapted to living in this cruel and dangerous world. He has pity for the deer, but he is not torn up about what happened, because Geralt has been around the block enough times to understand that sometimes these things happen. He is very matter of fact when he says to the deer,
"Today isn't your day, is it?"
In this world, people and animals die. I feel like this scene does a good job of showing his compassion, but also that he understands how the world works. The way I see Geralt is that he is a hero in an asshole suit. By this, I mean that while Geralt may look intimidating, act boorish, grumble and moan about things people do and how he is put in annoying situations, at the end of the day, he will always try to do the right thing.
He's a very hard exterior, tough, real-world type person who won't treat everyone perfectly. And at the same time, deep down, he's a real hero, right at the bottom of it. And he keeps that very secret and very private.
Despite all of his talk about remaining neutral and not getting involved in affairs that don't concern him, if he thinks something is wrong or someone needs his help, he is almost incapable of not stepping in and trying to do the right thing. At his core, he is a protector, doing his best to save those who have been abandoned, cast out, or have no one else to look out for them. I think this is in part to him feeling a kinship with them, as he himself knows what it is like to be abandoned, scared, and vulnerable. Due to his status as a Witcher and the mutations that his body has undergone, he finds himself reviled by humanity, the very people he is trying to protect.
We don't want your kind here, Witcher.
You mutant son of a bitch.
They see him as little different than the monsters that he hunts, rejecting him outright. And even this, Geralt does not begrudge them, having grown used to this treatment and knowing that it comes from a place of fear. With humanity rejecting him, Geralt would be completely isolated on his travels if it weren't for one very important person. I mean horse. Geralt's horse Roach serves as his constant companion, being there for him when no one else is. Roach allows Geralt to be vulnerable, quietly listening when Geralt confides in him the things that no one else wants to hear.
I talked to my horse.
That's sad.
Is it?
Roach allows Geralt to fully be himself, showing the feelings that he supposedly no longer has.
I seem to remember that witches don't feel.
Because Roach is so important to Geralt and acts as a means of letting him express his humanity, Geralt is very protective of Roach.
Don't touch Roach.
I also think that his relationship with Roach is another way for the audience to see the caring, compassionate person that Geralt is under his tough exterior.
Roach is more than just a horse. More like an anchor to Geralt's honest and true self. She's everything to him. She's the one source of humanity left because the rest of the world hates him and hates everything that he does.
One of the most important moments for Geralt actually comes in the very first episode of the series, and that is his run-in with Renfri. Upon entering the town of Blaviken, Geralt finds himself being pulled in two different directions by opposing forces. He is approached by the sorcerer Stregobor, who asks him to kill Renfri. Renfri was born under a black sun, and as a result is believed to be cursed, a tool that will eventually bring destruction to the continent. Stregobor had previously tried to have her killed, but she managed to survive, and has since been trying to hunt him down so that she can exact her revenge. Stregobor implores Geralt that killing Renfri would be the lesser of the two evils.
Killing Renfri is the lesser evil.
Shortly after this, Geralt comes across Renfri, who gives her side of the story. She talks about how Stregobor's man raped her, and how she was robbed of her life because of the manner of her birth. For her, everything she has done has been as a response to the fact that she was treated as a monster since the day that she was born. She asks Geralt to help her kill Stregobor, claiming it to be the lesser evil.
You want me to kill Stregobor for you?
It's the lesser evil.
Caught up in the middle of all this is Geralt, who is doing his best to remain neutral. He says that evil is evil, and if he has to choose between two different evils, he prefers not to choose at all. With that said, he does find some common ground with Renfri and sympathizes with her. Geralt, like Renfri, has been deemed a monster, and has had people hunt after him for things that he had no control over. Where they differ is in their response to this hatred. Renfri would rather kill than be killed, and began acting out, seeking revenge for the injustices done to her, whereas Geralt refrains from killing those who revile and wrong him, because in his mind, if he responds in kind and kills them, then he proves them right and that he actually is a monster. He tries to convince Renfri to leave Blaviken, to try and let go of the past and finally start living a life for herself rather than for those who wronged her. They spend the night together, but when Geralt wakes in the morning, Renfri is gone. She cannot move past her demons, and she is intent on getting her revenge on Stregobor by any means necessary. She gives an ultimatum, as she will kill everyone in Blaviken until Stregobor reveals himself. This forces Geralt's hand, with Renfri's actions making the choice for him. He kills her cronies before coming upon Renfri, who is holding an innocent local girl hostage. As Geralt and Renfri fight, we can see that he is conflicted, still caring for Renfri and her plight, but unwilling to let her follow through with her intentions. He is constantly trying to reason with her, to try and convince her to walk away.
Leave Blaviken. It's not too late.
But she is unwilling to walk a different path. Eventually, the realist in Geralt takes over, knowing that the only way to save the citizenry is to kill Renfri, and he does so reluctantly. One of the things that hurts Geralt most about Renfri's death is how unnecessary it feels to him. It didn't have to end this way, and Geralt exhausted all of his resources to try and prevent this result. For him, he didn't just want to save the townsfolk, he also wanted to save Renfri. After Geralt kills Renfri, saving the people of Blaviken, his reward is to be stoned, hurled with insults, and banished from the town. Before he leaves though, he takes Renfri's brooch with him. I feel like this symbolizes how he will take this encounter with him wherever he goes. It's a reminder about his decision and a warning to himself about how interfering can leave him hurting. He will continue to struggle with this decision throughout the series, wondering if he made the right choice, never being able to know if there was another way. As Geralt continues on his adventures, his world begins to expand as he makes the acquaintance of one bard named Jaskier. When Geralt is tasked with killing a devil, Jaskier tags along, trying to get material for a new song. It's actually interesting seeing how their friendship starts, as Jaskier is able to give Geralt something that he needs as a means to endear him. Since his encounter with Renfri, Geralt has become known as the Butcher of Blaviken, something that genuinely upsets him and has only served to make his life more difficult. Jaskier comes in as Geralt's image consultant, offering to give him a rebrand for allowing him to tag along. The song Jaskier writes is not only a banger, but gives a newfound appreciation for Witchers, and instead of being the Butcher of Blaviken, Geralt is now known as the White Wolf. I think this is a really interesting note for their friendship to start out on. The mission itself reinforces what we have learned about Geralt. When he comes upon the devil, he spares it, seeing that it is intelligent and not the monster that a random passerby might think it is. When talking to Filavandrel, Geralt empathizes with him, once again having a soft spot in his heart for the downtrodden. They leave the encounter by giving the elves the coin that he was paid for the job, vanquishing the beast not through violence, but through mutual understanding. It's not long before Geralt has a run-in with another cursed princess.
This isn't my first time trying to save a princess who others see as a monster.
When he hears that a fellow Witcher took money for a job, only to flee the scene, Geralt takes it upon himself to right this wrong. For Geralt, the word of a Witcher is incredibly important, as it reflects upon all of their kind. He takes on this job as a means of restoring the Witcher's honor so that they can be seen as trustworthy. When he reaches Temeria and begins his search for the monster, which turns out to be a Striga, we really get to see Geralt put on his detective hat. As he tries to piece together everything that's going on, we see him use some of his enhanced abilities to sniff out the truth.
I have incredibly intricate Witcher senses.
He confronts Ostrit, who is revealed to be responsible for the curse put on the princess. Geralt is disgusted by Ostrit, putting a curse on an innocent girl and exposing the townsfolk to a bloodthirsty killer, all because of his own petty vendetta. So naturally, Geralt uses Ostrit as live bait to try and draw out the Striga and get the counter curse. I think many Witchers would go about doing the job by hunting down the Striga and killing it, but Geralt is intent on trying to save the princess if he can. It calls back in a lot of ways to Renfri, as a princess is cursed through no fault of her own and seen as a monster. People are frightened by her and want her killed. In his mind, saving Ada is a way for him to right a wrong. To save this girl where he failed to save Renfri. He even acknowledges that if he is successful, the princess will be like a wild beast, needing extra help to try and get her life back on track.
She's lived as an animal. All she's ever known is rage and hunger.
But he feels like the extra risk is worth it to try and give this poor girl a chance at life. He is ultimately successful as he hides in the Striga's crypt, exposing her to sunlight and transforming her back into human form. Hired by Jaskier to be his bodyguard, Geralt accompanied the bard to a party. I think there's some interesting back and forth early on, as when talking to Jaskier, Geralt is insisting that they aren't friends, and that he prefers not needing anyone and not having anyone needing him.
I'm not your friend. I need no one. And the last thing I want is someone needing me.
I feel like this is an interesting character beat, as to a degree, I almost feel like Geralt is lying to himself. It feels like he is trying to keep everyone at arm's length, so that he doesn't get too invested or involved, because when that happens, he inevitably ends up getting hurt. To him, life is simple, money and monsters, with no desire for anything more. At least, that's what he tells himself. The party's purpose is for Pavetta, the Princess of Cintra, to choose a husband. However, all is not what it seems, as there is something going on beneath the surface. Queen Calanthe has Geralt sit next to her and tries to enlist his help should something go awry. And of course, something does happen, as a masked knight crashes the party, asking for Pavetta's hand in marriage. It seems Calanthe was expecting this, because she is quick to get his helmet popped off and ask Geralt to kill the monster. Instead, Geralt comes to the knight's aid, realizing that Calanthe was trying to manipulate him, and that the knight is merely cursed. Geralt's interference allowed for Pavetta and Duny to confess their love for each other and eventually receive Calanthe's blessing after she was bested by Destiny. This leads to an interesting discussion about Destiny. Geralt expresses his thoughts on Destiny at the time, as he claims it to be little more than a crutch which people cling on to give their lives meaning.
Destiny helps people believe there's an order to this horse shit. There isn't.
When he sees Pavetta's magical outburst upon Calanthe rejecting Destiny and the Law of Surprise, he views it more from a logical perspective.
This was just a girl using her magic to stop her mother from gutting her lover. Nothing more.
It is because of how he views Destiny that he ends up claiming the Law of Surprise when Duny insists on giving him a boon for saving his life. When Geralt claims it, he thinks very little of it, especially as he has no intention of returning to Cintra. Even though Geralt tells Mursak that he puts little stock into Destiny, he is affected by the thought of this child's surprise. He can't stop thinking about it. His Witcher lifestyle is dangerous, isolating, and harrowing. He worries that his child's surprise might be subjected to the same things that he has been.
I'd rather use my child surprise as Brooksabate than subject it to this life.
He is so concerned about it that he seeks out a djinn as a means of getting some sleep, because he has become wrapped with insomnia. The whole djinn incident leads him to crossing paths with Yennefer of Vengerberg. Initially recruiting Yennefer to help heal Jaskier, the two start to learn more about each other. They bond, with Geralt seeing who Yennefer is at her core. Even though she drugs and uses Geralt, he still rushes in to save her, knowing that the djinn will kill her. Realizing that he is the djinn's master, and that a djinn cannot harm their master even after released, Geralt wishes for his and Yennefer's fates to be tied together, preventing the djinn from killing Yen, as it would mean killing Geralt.
I can see why Geralt didn't want to lose you.
The djinn.
You made a wish.
Geralt is unintentionally forging his own little family of destiny. Ever the protector, when Geralt sees the Nilfgaard army marching on Cintra, he He goes to warn them and to make sure that Ciri is safe. He tries to take Ciri to safety, but is rebuffed at every turn by Calanthe. I think Geralt returning to Sintra to claim his child Surprise shows that he has come around on his thoughts on destiny, at least to some degree. He is no longer running from it, but he only seeks it out because he wishes to protect Ciri, once again showing the core of his character. Even though he doesn't find Ciri at Sintra, he eventually finds her in the woods, setting the stage for Season 2.
You are already enough, Cirilla. You are extraordinary.
Geralt and Ciri make their way through the aftermath of the Battle of Sodden Hill, looking for Yennefer. They aren't able to find her though, instead finding Tissaia and learning that Yen died in the battle. Now, even though Yen didn't actually die, Geralt thinks she did, which gives us another glimpse into his character. We get to see the practical side of Geralt emerge again, because even though he is heartbroken, that doesn't matter. He has Ciri to look after and to protect. He can't collapse into despair, because he has someone who is relying on him. He needs to bury his hurt deep within him, and continue to move forward. But it is important to note that he is hurting, and feels the loss of Yen immensely.
How are you not heartbroken?
Who says I'm not?
He just doesn't have the luxury of a prolonged grieving process, as the world doesn't care. In what I think is one of the best episodes of the show, Geralt makes his way to an old friend's house. Geralt is getting some strange vibes, even before he reaches the manor, as the surrounding town looks all but abandoned. When he reaches the manor, he finds his old friend Nivellen has been cursed and transformed into a beast. We learn that Nivellen was cursed for destroying a sacred temple. As he tells the story, Geralt is subtly questioning Nivellen, feeling like he is not telling the whole truth.
All the mushrooms in the world wouldn't make anyone that stupid.
But at the same time, he is trying to offer solutions to relieve the curse. We also learn how the two met, with Geralt being hired by Nivellen's father to kill a wyvern. Nivellen wanted to kill the wyvern to prove himself to his father. However, he was unsuccessful and had to be rescued by Geralt, who then gave him the wyvern's head and told Nivellen's father that it was Nivellen that slayed the beast, once again showing Geralt's kindness as well as how he tries to downplay his good deeds. Nivellen is giving Geralt some weird vibes, causing Geralt to ask a number of times if Ciri is safe there. Things only get more suspicious after they hear noises, and Nivellen claims them to be from his cat, and when Geralt and Nivellen play a drinking game and Nivellen cheats so that he doesn't have to tell Geralt any truths. Geralt is on high alert, but unable to find anything definitive indicating that they are in danger. That is, until he gets a tip-off from his buddy Roach, who points him in the right direction. Having found the dead bodies of the townspeople, Geralt springs into action, waking Ciri and preparing to fight the Bruxa. As they fight, it turns out the Bruxa flies now. Nivellen steps in to help, and Geralt kills the Bruxa. It is revealed that Nivellen and the Bruxa loved each other, and his curse is lifted. Nivellen turned a blind eye to what she did to the townspeople because she didn't care what he had done. He confesses that the real reason he was cursed was because he raped the priestess of the temple. This takes both Geralt and Ciri aback, hearing about this monstrous act Nivellen committed. Geralt is disgusted and upset that Nivellen withheld this information, putting Ciri in danger. He is unable to forgive this, and when Nivellen asks for Geralt to put him out of his misery, Geralt feels no sympathy, telling him to do it himself. After the events at the manor, Geralt and Ciri try to unwind from what happened. This allows us to see their relationship being explored for the first time. Geralt sets the rules, saying that when he tells Ciri to do something, she needs to do it without hesitation, as it is to protect her. But he also hears her out, letting her confide in him her fears and her trauma. He listens to her and tries to comfort her. He is able to relate, as he has gone through a lot of his own trauma, so he offers words of encouragement which help to build the foundation of their bond. When she talks about her fear of the Black Knight, Cahir, he tells her to be careful of these thoughts, as fear can be dangerous.
Fear is an illness. If you catch it and you leave it untreated, it can consume you. Facing your fear is not easy, but I am here for you.
Later, when she mentions a desire to kill Cahir, he is very clear with her that they never kill out of fear.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
To kill someone or something out of fear is done because you don't understand it and are too scared to try and learn. They make their way to Kaer Morhen, where Geralt has a homecoming. Kaer Morhen is the home base of the Witchers. For Geralt, it is a place of comfort, a place separate unto itself, free from the hatred of the masses. A return to Kaer Morhen also sees Geralt reunited with his fellow Witchers. The Witchers are Geralt's family, a small group of people who have had many shared experiences and can fully understand one another. This is one of the first times where Geralt actually displays visible happiness. I mean, just look at the smile on this goober. It also sees Geralt reunited with his father figure, Vesemir. Vesemir is the oldest surviving Witcher and raised Geralt and his brothers. He taught Geralt everything he knows, and the two care for each other deeply. Upon Geralt's return, there's also a new aspect to their relationship, as Geralt can now relate to Vesemir as a father. As Geralt and Ciri keep finding themselves in more dangerous situations, Geralt comes to a decision to try and protect Ciri even when he is not around to do so, and that is by teaching her to protect herself. By helping to train her, he is not only giving himself peace of mind, but also giving Ciri the tools to wield her own destiny. However, he recognizes that his teachings alone are not enough, as Ciri needs guidance in areas where he is of no help, and so he sends for Triss Merigold to come to Kaer Morhen and serve as a guide for Ciri. Triss's presence is to help give Ciri a good female role model, and to help her try and understand her magical abilities. Triss herself has gone through some difficult times, and her and Geralt have shared a bond since his first visit to Temeria. Looking for comfort, Triss puts Geralt in a classic Witcher scenario, knowing that he has already begun the Yennefer romance route, and that overplaying his hand would only end bad for him. He declines Triss's offer in the nicest way possible. He is sure to tell her that Triss is important to him, even if he does not think of her in that way. After returning from a trip outside Kaer Morhen, Geralt finds Ciri juicing to become a Witcher. He tries to get her to slow her roll, as the transformation process is painful and is known to kill people. She sees Geralt and wants to be like him and to escape her problems. Geralt helps her realize that becoming a Witcher wouldn't solve her problems and that it is not something that should be done lightly. Geralt is destined to experience more sorrow, as after a run-in with a giant winged monster, Roach is torn open. However, Roach proved to be a real one until the bitter end, as their dying actions were to protect Ciri, tossing her from the saddle so that she wouldn't be slashed. In an emotional moment that was included at the insistence of Henry Cavill, Geralt recites a poem to Roach before saying his final goodbye.
It's a sad moment. It's a moment which I wanted to introduce some dialogue from the beginning of Blood of Elves into as well.
Enjoy your last walk across the meadow and through the mist.
If Geralt didn't already have a drinking problem, a loss like this would no doubt drive him to those little bottles. Now, it gets a little hard to analyze Geralt's character near the end of Season 2, because the show gets pretty messy in its storytelling. Yennefer takes Ciri and is planning to sacrifice her so that she can get her powers back. When Geralt learns of this, he feels immensely betrayed, and is initially set on killing Yen. However, as they hunt them down, he has a heart-to-heart with Jaskier, where the bard tells him that everyone deserves a second chance, and that people do crazy things when they are desperate, planting the seeds for Geralt to spare and forgive Yen. It's also when Ciri is missing that Geralt opens up a bit, acknowledging that he was wrong in the past when he was trying to ignore Ciri's presence, and that being with her and teaching her is the best feeling in the world to him.
So this is actually more like an unlocking for Geralt. She's the key to allow him to really be who he has always wanted to be.
When Geralt does eventually come across Yen and Ciri, he doesn't kill her. He is also very pointed about not forgiving her, and that he can't really trust her going forward.
I don't forgive you, Yennefer.
However, he has to put his faith in her almost immediately, as Ciri gets possessed, and all the Witchers want to kill her. Geralt's belief in Ciri breaks through to her, helping to wake her up from her trance. The season ends with Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer heading off on their own.
I won't abandon Ciri, even if it costs me my life.
Season 3 opens with Geralt, Yen, and Ciri on the run, being hunted by almost everyone as they are trying to use Ciri for their own purposes. The trio doesn't stay still for long, hopping from place to place, trying to maintain a low profile. Yennefer seems to have initially come with them as a means to an end. Ciri needed someone to teach her to control her overflowing magical ability, and so Yen became necessary to help guide her. Geralt is still trying to forgive her for the events of Season 2. He's getting there slowly but surely as the months pass. They initially aren't talking much, instead giving each other longing glances.
The long looks, the stolen glances, the general atmosphere of would they, might they?
Them being hunted has seemed to have had an effect on Geralt, as he becomes slightly paranoid, seeing danger in everyone they come across, and not willing to take chances with Ciri's safety. They eventually make their way to a small little cabin by a lake, which becomes Geralt's happy place. Geralt's plan moving forward is to remain neutral, to not choose a side, and remove Ciri from the board, as he thinks it is the safest way to protect Ciri. He knows it is not the most glamorous path, but it is the one that he is the most confident in, the one that's most practical.
Neutrality. It won't get you a statue, but it'll certainly help in keeping you alive.
When circumstance sees Geralt separated from Yen and Ciri, he writes a letter to Yennefer. In this letter, he opens up, revealing that for the first time in his life, he understands true fear. The fear that he won't see Yen and Ciri again. I think it also goes a bit deeper than that, in that I think he fears being away from them when they need him most, failing to protect them because he wasn't there. I think something worth noting here is Geralt's complete confidence in his abilities. When he leaves Jaskier to go kill Rience, he's doing so because he doesn't want to put Jaskier in harm's way. He tells Jaskier to wait there until he comes back from killing Rience, his tone indicating that any other result is almost an impossibility. He does this a couple times throughout the series, where he tells someone that he will find them after a battle. I think it speaks to his confidence in his abilities, but also, if Geralt is proved wrong and dies, there's nothing he can do about it. If he dies, he dies. I feel like it's his real-world, practical side revealing itself again. We also get a very human moment from Geralt when he learns of his mother's death. His mother abandoned him when he was just a small child. He loved her more than anything, and yet one day she just left him. He felt abandoned by her, but more than anything, confused, not knowing why she made the decision that she did. He relates to what his mom did to him with his own relationship with Ciri, strengthening his resolve that he will never abandon Ciri in the same way, and that he would gladly give his life to protect her. When he is reunited with Ciri as they make their way by ferry boat to Aretuza, he imparts more wisdom on her and helps hone her Witcher skills. He tells her about the things that actually matter and have real meaning in this world, and to treat these things with the care and reverence that they deserve. Imaginary borders on a map don't matter.
A life has real meaning. It's warm skin and a beating heart. It should only be taken as a last resort.
He also does some hands-off parenting, as he lets Ciri deal with the Eshna. He allows her to grow her skills and develop, but if there is anything that she can't handle, he's there to step in.
He allows her to do the work, and he will cover her when she overexposes herself. If you watch the fight carefully, you'll see there's a couple of strikes that he puts in there, which would have otherwise killed Ciri, but he's letting her do all the work. And it's putting her training to the test.
When they get to Aretuza, it's party time. Attending the ball the night before the conclave, Geralt and Yen are in the Viper's Nest, trying their best to navigate their way to the most desirable outcome. They think that Stregobor is the big bad, as he has a history of experimenting on young girls. After what Geralt saw in the cave and what happened with Renfri, Geralt is seeing red and is biting at the bit to kill Stregobor. During the party, he confronts him, only for Stregobor to lay Renfri's death at his feet again. Throughout the party, multiple people are trying to get Geralt to join forces with them to pick a side. Dijkstra and Vilgefortz are two notables who are trying to lure Geralt to their side, but they are more than willing to force his hand one way or another if he should prove unwilling. The next morning, when all hell breaks loose, it is revealed that Vilgefortz was the mastermind behind it all. Geralt and him face off, Ciri's fate hanging in the balance. Geralt gives it his everything, but he is clearly outmatched. It is the first time in the series where we see Geralt defeated so thoroughly. He is left broken and bleeding in the sand as he watches Vilgefortz head towards Ciri. In a lot of ways, this encounter breaks Geralt and leads him to question his entire identity. Being a protector is something that is a core tenet of who Geralt is, and so when he is beaten by Vilgefortz, he feels like a massive failure. With his confidence in his abilities, it was never a question for him whether or not he'd be able to protect Ciri. He blames himself for not being strong enough to defend her, leaving him to toil in his defeat, as he is uncertain of what fate became Ciri. It takes all of his strength to try and rebuild himself, physically and mentally. I think he is only able to do so because he knows that Ciri is out there. If he somehow is able to help her, even a little, then he is going to do everything in his power to do that. After having recovered enough strength to pursue Ciri, we get a scene with a lot of symbolic meaning. When tasked with bribing his way to get across the border, he is unwilling to give up his wolf pendant, but is willing to took part with Renfri's brooch. The wolf pendant identifies him as a witcher and serves as a connection to his brethren. Even though he didn't choose to become a witcher, it has become core to who he is. Renfri's brooch, on the other hand, is something that he held on to as a reminder to himself to not interfere and instead to remain neutral. It is a warning because when he makes a choice, he often ends up hurt. However, with Ciri taken from him, he is already full of hurt and fear. He is now willing to take a side if it means seeing Ciri safe. He will do anything in his power as a means to protect her. As he leaves the brooch behind, he is ready to move forward, and we leave off with him only looking ahead as he is set to try and save Ciri.
It's an absolute honor for me to have the opportunity to bring this guy to the screen. It's a guy who lives very closely to my heart.
A lot has been said about how Netflix's The Witcher has had a severe drop in quality, been marred by poor writing decisions and mismanagement. And while I agree with many of the criticisms levied at the show, that does not mean that it is completely without merit. I think the show's depiction of Geralt has been one of the absolute highlights. The characterization has been consistent, and Henry Cavill's portrayal has impressed even the show's harshest critics. Honestly, it's a little sad to see someone who is so passionate about the character and source material to become disillusioned and leave the show. I don't know how Liam Hemsworth will do in the role. I'm not even sure anyone will still be around to watch what he does with it. What I can say, and what I am certain of, is that despite the flaws of the series, Henry Cavill in the show brought Geralt of Rivia to life, presenting him as a multifaceted character, who in my opinion is the best character in the Witcher TV series. If you somehow made it to the end of the video, I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, it would mean a lot if you liked and subscribed. It really helps the channel. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.